Forget everything you know about the silent treatment. The old version was petty. It was reactive. It reeked of hurt feelings and desperation for attention. People saw through it, and eventually, you caved. You broke the silence first, because you couldn't handle the tension you created. But there's a new version, a Stoic version, and it's not about punishing someone with your absence. It's about upgrading your presence so dramatically that your silence becomes deafening. Most people, when they're wronged, either explode or sulk. They react with noise, or they retreat with bitterness. Both options give power to the person who hurt them, but a small 1% does something different. They go silent in a way that isn't about the other person at all, and that's exactly what makes it unforgettable. Today, I'm going to show you the silent treatment to 0.0. 7 phases of strategic withdrawal make anyone who wronged you feel your absence for years. Not because you're hiding, because you're evolving. And evolution is the revenge no one recovers from. One of these phases seems passive on the surface, but it triggers obsessive thinking in the other person. Psychologists call it the uncertainty effect. Stay until the end. For that one, the Stoics didn't believe in petty revenge, but they believed deeply in becoming so powerful that mistreatment becomes irrelevant. Marcus Aurelius wrote that living well is the best response to those who wish you harm. Seneca taught that the greatest revenge is to be unlike him who caused the injury. In plain terms, don't disappear to make them wonder. Disappear to make yourself undeniable. Let's begin. Phase 1. Cut without announcement. The old silent treatment starts with drama, a slammed door, a pointed look, a message left unread with obvious intention. This signals hurt. It invites pursuit. It begs for resolution. The silent treatment 2.0 begins with nothing. No warning. No final argument. No emotional goodbye. You simply become less available. Responses take longer. Energy decreases. Presence fades. But there's no identifiable moment they can point to. This is critical. When someone can identify the moment you withdrew, they can strategize around it. They can apologize for that specific thing. They can manipulate the reconciliation. But when the withdrawal is gradual, invisible, and total, they're left with something far worse. Confusion. They'll replay conversations. They'll wonder what they missed. They'll sense the shift but won't find the source. And that uncertainty will haunt them longer than any argument ever could. Epictetus taught that we should be like a rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved. Don't announce your strength. Demonstrate it through calm, steady disappearance. Let them notice the absence without understanding the cause. Passe tu. Remove emotional access completely. This is where most people fail. They go silent verbally but stay emotionally available. They still react to posts. They still show hurt through body language. They still ask mutual friends about the person. This isn't silence. This is loud, obvious pain, pretending to be strength. The silent treatment 2.0 requires emotional withdrawal, not just verbal withdrawal. You stop caring what they're doing. You stop checking their social media. You stop wondering if they've noticed your absence. You actually move on. Not just perform moving on. This is the hardest part because it requires internal work. You have to genuinely release the attachment. You have to stop needing a reaction from them to feel validated. Seneca said that we suffer more in imagination than reality. Every time you check on them, you're reopening the wound you claim to be healing. Every time you seek information about their life, you're feeding the connection you're trying to sever. True silence is internal first. When your mind stops visiting them, your behavior follows naturally. And that's when they feel it. Not your absence, your indifference. That's the silence that cuts deep. Phase 3. Redirect the energy they used to receive. Here's what makes the silent treatment 2.0 different. The old version was about subtraction. You removed yourself to create a void. The new version is about redirection. You take the time, attention, and energy they used to receive, and you pour it into yourself. Start the workout routine. Read the books. Build a skill. Launch the project. Every hour you used to spend on them becomes an hour invested in your own evolution. This isn't revenge. It's recycling. The energy exists either way. You're just choosing where it goes. And when that energy starts producing visible results, the silence becomes undeniable. They'll see changes through mutual connections, through social media, through the grapevine, and they'll realize that your absence wasn't about them at all. You weren't punishing them. You were promoting yourself. That realization hits different. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Don't become bitter, become better. Let your growth be so obvious that your silence needs no explanation. The results speak. You don't have to. Phase 4. Become selectively visible. Complete disappearance can be explained away. They might assume you're struggling, hiding, licking wounds in private. The silent treatment to point zero requires strategic visibility. You're not gone. You're thriving. You're just thriving without them. Be active in spaces where word will travel back. Not to show off, not to rub it in, but to make your evolution undeniable. Let mutual friends see you laughing. Let your work speak for itself. Let your presence in the world grow while your presence in their life stays zero. This creates a specific psychological effect. They can't tell themselves you're suffering. They can't assume you need them. They see evidence of life continuing and improving without their involvement, and they can't look away. The key is authenticity. You're not performing happiness. You're building it. The visibility is a natural byproduct of living fully, not a strategy to provoke jealousy. If it feels forced, it won't work. If it's real, it's unforgettable. Epictetus taught that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. When you genuinely want nothing from them, not even their attention, your visibility becomes pure. There's no manipulation, just life. And that's what makes it devastating. Quick pause here. If you're realizing that silence is a skill and not just an emotion, subscribe to the Stoic Rise. You'll learn how to move through conflict with a calm power that most people will never understand. Now let's continue, because phase 5 is where the psychological pressure becomes intense. This is the uncertainty effect I mentioned, and it changes everything. Phase 5. Offer no closure. This is the phase that creates obsession. Closure is a gift. It's a neatly wrapped ending that allows both parties to move forward. The silent treatment to point zero denies that gift completely. You don't explain why you left. You don't list their offenses. You don't offer a final conversation where they can defend themselves or apologize. You simply stop, and that incompleteness will live in their mind far longer than any closure conversation could. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. Incomplete tasks and unresolved situations occupy mental space more persistently than completed ones. By refusing closure, you become an open loop in their psychology. They can't file you away because there's no ending. They'll want to reach out. They'll draft messages they never send. They'll rehearse conversations they'll never have. And every time they think they've moved on, something will remind them that they never got the ending they wanted. This isn't cruelty. This is protection. Closure conversations rarely provide what we hope for. They often reopen wounds, invite manipulation, or give the other person one last chance to hurt you. By walking away without a final word, you keep your power intact. Seneca wrote that nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart. Give gratitude to those who earned it. Give silence to those who earned that. Instead, phase 6. Never speak negatively about them. This phase surprises people. If you're implementing the silent treatment to point zero, shouldn't you expose them? Shouldn't mutual friends know what they did? Shouldn't the world see their true character? No. And here's why. When you speak negatively about someone, you keep them relevant. You tie your story to theirs. You become the person who was wronged by them instead of the person as building something remarkable. The silent treatment to point zero makes them irrelevant. Not evil, not villainous. Irrelevant. When people ask about them, you simply redirect. We're not in contact anymore. That's it. No details. No drama. No energy wasted on their reputation. This does something powerful. It makes observers curious, not informed. They'll wonder what happened. They might ask the other person, who will probably over-explain and look desperate. Your silence lets them write their own story while you remain mysterious. Marcus Aurelius practiced radical restraint in speech. He didn't waste words on the unworthy. When you refuse to discuss someone who wronged you, you communicate more powerfully than any rant ever could. You show that they don't occupy enough space in your mind to be worth mentioning. Speak only of what you're building. Let them become a footnote no one reads. Phase 7. Mean the silence forever. Here's where most people collapse. Months pass. The anger fades. Loneliness creeps in, and suddenly, you're reaching out again. Reopening the door, letting them back in. Undoing everything. The silent treatment to point zero is permanent. Not because you're holding a grudge, but because you've genuinely moved forward. The person who hurt you no longer fits in the life you've built. There's no room for them. Not from bitterness, from growth. This requires letting go of the fantasy that they'll change, that one day they'll become who you needed them to be. That reconciliation will heal the original wound. It won't. Some relationships end not with resolution, but with evolution. You became someone who no longer tolerates what they offer. When they reach out, and they will, your response is either silence or simple disinterest. I wish you well, but I've moved on. No door left open. No hint of possibility. Who's to completion? Epictetus taught that freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Their behavior is beyond your control. Your boundaries are not. The silent treatment to point zero ends when you realize it's not a treatment at all. It's a lifestyle. It's the standard you refuse to lower. Some silences aren't punishments. They're promotions. You promoted yourself out of their reach. Now, here's the rule that makes all 7 phases work. The silent treatment 2.0 is not about them. The moment it becomes about them, it loses power. If you're checking to see if they noticed, you've failed. If you're waiting for them to regret it, you've failed. If your happiness depends on their suffering, you've already lost. True Stoic silence is self-focused. You're building your